Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be about the things that I would change in my homeschooling journey, but I'm going to gear it more towards high school. As you saw in an earlier video, I listed out some of the changes that I would make if I was starting over with elementary school, especially because Kevin was so young when we started. He was in preschool, but Logan was already halfway through 7th grade whenever we started his homeschooling journey. And so over the years, I really have decided that there are probably only two things that I would change if we started from scratch back in halfway through 7th grade. And I'm going to share those with you guys today. All right, so the number one change I would have made is to not stress about elective credits. I was frantic about these whenever we first started homeschooling Logan, especially as he got closer to high school. I was so worried that we were not going to get enough elective credits. I knew we would cover his base academics. That was very easy. Math courses, English courses, science courses, history courses. There are curriculums for all of these things. What I stressed about was, would we get the required number of elective credits that our state requires for a college prep diploma? And so I created courses and researched and pulled things together. And while all of the things that we did were really good and they were applicable and we tried to make them as enjoyable as possible, I put so much work into making sure that he had enough elective credits that I really stressed myself out. And honestly, I made his workload so much more. Now, I have had a video that shows you how to make an elective course, and it gives you kind of the ins and outs, because you most likely will need to create at least one or two courses. And even if you don't need to create it, because so many things in our regular life can count as electives. So for us, chickens, gardening, even driver's ed can count as an elective course. Hunting and what he had to do to get his hunting license. So many opportunities honestly just naturally present themselves, but it is helpful to know exactly kind of how to navigate that and also how to record things, make grades, things like that. So if you are in kind of that middle school, high school realm, I definitely recommend that you go back and check out that video. But also, hear what I'm saying now, do not stress yourself out about over creating electives. And I will tell you this because not only, again, do natural opportunities present themselves, but if you are looking for your high school student to complete a dual enrollment program, whether through a local tech school or through a local college, you are also going to get quite a few dual enrollment elective credits through that option. So through a four-year college, if you're doing dual enrollment, that is going to be a little bit more academically geared. So those are the areas that you may need to create some electives, especially as you get closer towards like 11th and 12th grade and kind of seeing like where your holes are. However, in Georgia, with a technical college, almost all of the courses that Logan has taken to get his criminal justice diploma for his associate's degree, almost all of those courses have counted as elective credits for his high school transcript. A technical college runs very differently than a four-year college. So again, I'm speaking from a technical college point of view, but most of Logan's courses have not been 100% academic. He has taken two English courses, English 1101 and English 1102. He did have to take a college algebra. And also next year he'll take a forensic science. And although that is a criminal justice course, it is on the approved sciences for his high school diploma. So that will count as his science next year. However, his psychology course, and all of his other law courses and things that he needs to get his criminal justice diploma, those all count as elective credits for us. So when I tell you that we are swimming in elective credits, and honestly, he will graduate with more elective credits than academic credits, I truly mean it. This also kind of lends towards early planning. If you have a student who is in 7th or 8th grade, most technical colleges will take students earlier. Many four-year colleges do not start dual enrollment until 11th grade. Many technical colleges will take students in 10th grade, and I've even heard of some that will take them in 9th grade. I didn't research that because honestly, Logan wasn't ready to start this journey in 9th grade. So we waited until halfway through 10th grade for him to start with these tech school courses. But it would definitely be something that when you are thinking about your child's high school career, that you start planning and looking into what programs and options are available, because that honestly can take a lot off your plate. If I knew that almost every criminal justice course was going to count as an elective, quite frankly, I would have not worried about creating courses. I still probably would have kept some grades on things like driver's ed. We did music and art history, things that were important, that were good for his development. But honestly, I overdid it with elective courses. And so you can save yourself a lot of time and trouble if you will start thinking ahead, looking into those dual enrollment options. But also, do not stress about curriculum or buying things or forcing a course when you truly will have enough elective credits just by recording everyday activities. The second major thing that I would have changed on our homeschool journey is I would have worked to do more relational things, I think, with Logan. For me, I was so nervous about messing things up whenever we started, because in my mind, we started homeschooling late. Most of the friends that I had that had homeschooled their kids, even though they had middle school and high school kids, they had homeschooled their kids mostly through elementary. Some of their kids had even been homeschooled their entire life. And so I knew I was coming late to the party. He had already had a few setbacks in public school with struggling in certain areas, namely math. We'd already had to kind of go backwards a little bit to make sure that he understood those concepts. And so while I know what we did was good, I think unfortunately I was so worried about checking those boxes that we really lost a lot of the magic that homeschool can bring. So, for example, we do a lot of read alouds in our family. And as Logan has gotten older, he's gotten a little less interested in those, because I do typically have to pick a book that appeals to Kevin being so much younger. And now that Kevin is more interested in novels and things like that, we have been able to kind of increase the maturity level of those books. So Logan is a little more interested in those. But also Logan works now. He has recently gotten a job at a local barbecue restaurant. And so he is dividing his time between school and work and then chores and things like that. So we don't see as much of Logan. So a lot of our read aloud time is now just geared towards me and Kevin. However, even before Logan had a job, there were still quite a few things that Kevin and I did that were geared more towards his age, and I never really felt like I had an equivalent for Logan being so much older. The one thing that I would say, and this is something that I'm actually working on adding into our homeschool with Logan right now, is I would have created a book club type situation with him where he and I could read the same books and then discuss them. Even though it wouldn't necessarily always be like a read aloud situation, it would give us that kind of connection as far as literature goes. I have started that this year. Some of the books that Logan is doing for his British Lit course are books that I have read. And so we kind of are getting to discuss those a little bit. One of those, he's on Pride and Prejudice right now. And so we do get to kind of connect over some of the really funny memes on Instagram, making fun of Mr. Darcy. And honestly, what a terrible job he does at flirting with Elizabeth. But even outside of that, I am now starting to read on my own books that I want to see if Logan would be interested in, or book series to see if Logan would be interested in. And so I hope this is going to go well. He's giving me a little bit of pushback about it because I am challenging him to read some books out of the typical genre that he prefers. However, it is also something that's very important to me as he gets older and as he does things and kind of starts to leave the nest a little bit, that I really want to make sure we have something we can connect about. He does enjoy reading, so that does help a little bit. If you have a high schooler that doesn't really enjoy reading, you may have to do this through audiobooks or something like that. But it is also something that I can truly say, I wish I had started earlier, where he and I could read the same books, or even if I read it first and then he did it and then we could discuss it back and forth. Not a school thing per se, but like a book club, just something fun. Let's do this. Let's try this book. Let's see if we like it. Let's be able to talk about it. My husband is not a big reader. And so a lot of the times if I'm going to discuss books with somebody, it's going to be my best friend. And so it's one of those things where I would love to have that with Logan also, because that is something that can carry on after he graduates, gets a job, moves out, does all the things that our kids are supposed to be doing as they grow up. So that would be my number 2 recommendation. Start early. Even though in 7th and 8th grade, you'll find yourself reading a lot of middle school books, there are quite a few very good young adult authors. Ruta Sepetys is one that I would definitely recommend. She does some fabulous historical fiction. It is very honest about the time periods that she writes about, but it's not graphic. There's no sex in it, so I really appreciate that. Quite a few of them do have a little hint at a love story, but they're very age appropriate. Another one that we have loved is Jennifer Kropf and the Winter Souls series. It's kind of like a Narnia for adults. Again, a light romance thing, but very slight, nothing inappropriate. As the kids are getting older, the next series that I'm hoping I can get Logan started on is the Inheritance Game series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I have read almost the entire series and have really enjoyed it. It's kind of a clue, mystery, whodunit kind of thing. There is a little bit more heavy on the romance on this one, so I definitely wouldn't recommend this for like below 16 or so. No sex per se, but a little bit implied that there are relations. Also, though, other series or other books that just authors that we enjoy. Right now for British Lit, he's reading C.S. Lewis. And so quite a few of the different C.S. Lewis books, not just the Narnia series, but a lot of his other stuff like the Screwtape Letters and the Great Divorce, things like that. And so I am challenging myself to read those books also, because that is outside of my comfort zone. I love historical fiction. I love fantasy. But I think C.S. Lewis is such a wonderful author that it's also going to enlighten my horizons as well as give me something to relate to my son about. So as you can see, there really isn't that much that I would change. To me though, those are 2 very, very big changes. One, to lower my stress level as far as course content and creating courses, but 2, to increase the relationship level that I have with my oldest, which, as we know, as teenagers, it gets a little bit harder to relate to them. and they find it harder to relate to us too. So I hope this video was very helpful. If it was, if you wouldn't mind, please give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I really do love posting videos, sharing our journey, whether it's homesteading or homeschooling or house renovations, or it's just a little bit of everything. But I really do enjoy sharing these because I have learned so much, and I would love to be able to make anyone else's journey a little bit smoother and solve those butterflies just a little bit, because I know it can feel so many times when you're homeschooling like you're just not enough. And honestly, I have truly learned that I am, and I know that you are too.